Sometimes I'm east, sometimes I'm west, no chains can ever...
Greetings and welcome to Georgian Crossroads and beyond. And today we're going far beyond. We're encompassing the whole world. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is I want to expand the channel a bit from just covering things here in Tbilisi, Georgia, to including other places I've traveled to or other thoughts about travel. So kind of more of a general travel channel. Although, don't worry, we're sticking around in Georgia, and you'll know the difference when you watch them by the introductions. This introduction, as you could see, was a bit broader. Well, today what we're going to do is continue ranking tourists from the worst to the best. The last two videos in this series were definitely in the bottom tier, and the first one was, you don't even want to talk to those people, although they could be you. Today what we're doing is we're going to be looking at problem tourists. Now, these are not evil. They're not even creating ignorant harm. It's just kind of a problem what's actually happening. That is to say, the methods they use, the way they travel to places, it's just not ideal. It's a problem. And some of the things we'll be covering today are holiday tourism. What's the problem with that? Stick around and find out. Summer tourism. What's the problem with that? Stick around and find out. Solo tourists, not to be confused with independent travelers. Digital nomads, and I've been meeting more of those over the years, and there are some problems associated with that lifestyle. And finally, the extreme travelers and vloggers, and we'll talk about them at the end. So, without any further delay, shall we talk about some problem tourists?
Thousands of protesters hit the streets in Barcelona to express anger at mass tourism and its impacts on the city. Some protesters even sprayed tourists with water guns as part of the demonstration. Protesters called for a reduction in the number of foreign visitors to Barcelona, which they say makes the city unlivable and has had a huge impact on living costs.
Problem tourists is our next set of 5. A problem as in these people aren't necessarily causing harm, but they tend to clog things up. They tend to make the experience less enjoyable for each other and for everyone else. Because this is us. So, holiday tourism. Yeah, who doesn't do holiday tourism? Where you're all in a mad rush, and it's always called the mad rush. In Christmas in America, everyone flies across the country to go home for a week or two, or an extended weekend, which makes the air travel just horrifying. It's the same in some places with New Year's. In France, it's August. Everybody takes August off. So they're all in Paris, they're all in the bigger cities, they all go down to the Côte d'Azur, the Azure Coast, which they then proceed to clog all their beaches. I mean, if you look at pictures of French beaches in August, down in the Mediterranean, it's just, why would I want to go there? I mean, it's even worse in places, there are places in China and such where I won't go to a beach anymore. If someone says, we're going to the beach, I'm kind of like, yeah, well, enjoy it. Because I won't. It will be terrifying to me to go to a beach. I haven't been to a beach in so long. I've been to beaches, but not to the beach, not to hang out, not to get slathered with sunblock, not to, be one of thousands of tourists laying on a beach. Which brings us to summer tourism. Why is summer tourism bad, Byrne? Because summer tourism, quite frankly, as the weather has gotten warmer, summer tourism is not the time to go traveling. It should be the time you avoid traveling, but there is, of course, a reason why people travel in the summer. It's because in many places, the children are off in the summer from school, and so families who have no choice, and quite frankly really don't understand how to travel, will go travel in the summer. And of course, people who work anywhere around the school system will be forced to do the same.
Look, traveling to Europe in summer is a nightmare. don't come. I don't mean that in a xenophobic sense. Obviously, I'm an immigrant here. I love this continent. I love my life here. I love France. I love Paris. I am years into living here. But this continent can provide very different experiences, let's say, depending on where you're coming from, how long you choose to spend here, and what you're doing. Let me ask you this. Why do some people come here and have an amazing experience, and other people come here and end up hating it? You know, I've explored this before, but people seem to have a love-hate relationship with cities or places like Paris. And you think to yourself, is it the same city we're all talking about? Here's the thing. Travel can be so many different things. I've been on many trips in my life. Some have been deeply meaningful, mesmerizing, memorable. And then some trips have not been that. I would describe those other trips as more like superficial and forgettable. And I'm starting to notice patterns in what creates the first kind of trip, the kind of trip that we all want to have, the positive kind, versus the second kind of trip, the negative kind. And I am making this to help you avoid those negative trips. This is why I say don't come to Europe in summer unless you really know what you're getting yourself into. And do not let the long, warm days of summer fool you. This is a very complicated time of year to travel here. So here is the secret. Here's the reason why travel in Europe sucks in summer. It's because people utterly lack creativity. Honestly, and this is going to sound a little bit condescending, but I've made this mistake as well, okay? I've also been a fool. Most people are sheep when they travel. It's that effect, right? Where if you see a bunch of people looking at something, you want to look at it as well. You're like, what's so interesting about that? They take photos of things that get photographed like 4 billion times a day. So instead of spending a fortune, you can get the exact same photo just by Googling it. You know, it's that same law, that same facet of human psychology, which says a restaurant that is full and busy is better quality than an empty restaurant. Sometimes that's totally true, and sometimes it isn't. And that is how you end up with the problems that make travel in summer here terrible. Hordes of people, long lines for all tourist attractions or anything to do like museums or bookstores. Everyone is in the exact same places, try to do the exact same things. And because of the laws of supply and demand, because there's so much demand, you're getting seasonal pricing, which is why you end up paying a fortune for a crappy spot.
And summer tourism to me, I worked in Alaska. I thought to myself, I'm glad I'm here because we don't have a lot of tourists. We have a healthy amount, but it's not Skagway. It's not Disney World. It's not Florida in the middle of the summer. Florida in the middle of the summer is like going south of hell. I can't imagine why people would do such a thing, but we have to take our summer vacation. Summer tourism makes a really, really good ancillary argument as to why people should not go to public schools. I mean, there are other better reasons, but you know, the idea that you have to follow this weird schedule and to everyone get out at the same time, go to the same places. Everything gets crowded in the summer, and it's gotten worse over time. Seeing as I just turned 68 years old, I can say, without a doubt, summer tourism now positively, absolutely sucks compared to summer tourism when I was younger. And it's just gotten worse over time with more crowds, more people, people finding new ways to go explore, and one of those ways might be just to be a solo tourist. Now, I'm going to mention solo tourist here and independent traveler later, so don't confuse these two. A solo tourist is essentially the same as a package tourist. They're going to the same boring places. They're boring because everyone goes there. The one advantage that the solo tourist has over most of the other different kinds of tourists we've talked about is that they can go off season, which is a much better time to go. But the solo tourist is going to go to a city, tick off the Eiffel Tower, tick off the Louvre, tick off the Gare d'Orsay Museum, the Musée d'Orsay, tick off, everything you're supposed to do, and then go to the next place, go to Berlin and tick off the Reichstag and tick off, all the different places there. Go to, they're going to be in all these places. Heaven help you if you go to Rome. It's just the solo tourist doesn't have imagination. They're reading guidebooks, and I have no particular problem with guidebooks. They've helped me more than time. And in fact, I appreciate guidebooks more than I do most of what you see on the internet. In many cases, there are exceptions to the rule. But nevertheless, the solo tourist is often a tourist who's independent but without the imagination. They're doing the same things. They're just doing it by themselves. And then we come to a more recent phenomena, which I have learned to have less respect for over time, and that is the digital nomad. The digital nomad, basically you take your work with you and you travel around the world. You can afford to live in Thailand, so you travel there. There are a few of them here in Tbilisi, Georgia. Fortunately, not that many, but enough. They're in countries where they can afford to stay because they have the money that the rest of the people in the country don't have. So some people have said, I'm a digital nomad, I'm involved with slow travel, to which I would say, no, you're not. You're a digital nomad. And digital nomadism and slow travel are two very different things. Because the digital nomad is essentially going from expat community, expatriates, people who no longer live in their country, what someone said, it's what wealthier white people call it when other people are immigrants, they're expats. Go from expat community to expat community to expat community. So they're meeting the Australians and the Americans and the English and the French and the Germans and such in different cities wherever they go.
You've seen the photos of people posing on the beach with their laptops in paradise, hashtag YOLO, hashtag one-way ticket, hashtag work from anywhere. But what they didn't show you were any of the struggles that they experienced before or after they snapped that Photoshop pic. I'm Kristen. I've been to more than 60 countries in the last 20 years, and in this video, I'm going to break down for you the top 8 struggles of things that I've experienced personally or that I've witnessed in my globe-trotting friends, and at the end, I'm going to tell you how to overcome them.
Do you get it? There's an interesting woman who did a video not long ago where she talked about what was the problem with my life as a digital nomad. And she was totally into promoting it. But you can tell it burnt her out. And one of the reasons it burnt her out is because it's actually really lonely and alienating.
Hey there, fellow travelers and digital nomads. Mark here with Walter's World, and today I want to talk about are things that nobody talks about when they talk about living the digital nomad lifestyle. Because when you go online, you see all those IG pics of their feet dangling off from their van looking at this beautiful lake they're at, or they show them surfing, or, oh, we found another, cute little internet cafe to do our work in. You see those things, and that's the fun part of it. But the thing is, there's a lot of not fun parts of it, and I've done that lifestyle. I have lived that lifestyle before, and I'm going to tell you there's things that people don't bring up. And the biggest one out there is just, you're going to be lonely. It is a lonely life being a digital nomad because you are by yourself going around, right?
And also it means you're living somewhere you always have an escape hatch. So if life gets thick and you're living there for a while, you can just split. Because you can just go back home or whatever. It involves no commitment, or it's just skimming in a different sort of way. Is skimming pretending to not be skimming, because the fact is you have to do your work, so there you are. And finally, in this problem tourist category, we have extreme travelers and vloggers.
It's been 6 months of driving and I'm about to arrive. I started in Mexico, made my way up through Texas, Wyoming, Montana, Oregon, and Washington, then all the way north up the Pacific coast of Canada, and even further, crossing the whole of Alaska. I've dedicated the last 6 months of my life to getting here. This speck on a map, this random spot, this true north of mine. This is it! This is the end of the Dalton Highway. This is Danforth. This is Droebit. This is the northernmost point of my trip. Actually, it's not. The Arctic coastline is still a good 10 miles away, and we can't actually drive there.
Now, some of these people have incredible experiences, and I've been following different ones. Ava Zubek and Peter, who is one of the funniest guys I've ever seen. But sometimes he just does the most. He just recently did a series of the most alienating travels I could possibly imagine, where the whole point was to try to come up with, he went to 4 random places, picked as close to randomly as he could get, one by AI, another by a shaman in a tribe in Peru. You know, it's just like, you know, who was just asked to pick a number, and he had put all these different numbers on a chart that had different names.
I'm from Europe. I find the continent incredibly boring. If I had $10,000 to splash out, I would travel to the most random places all around the world.
Except Europe.
The countries and destinations would be picked by chance. Every stop would be a surprise. I would capture everything, taking the viewer on a thrilling odyssey where the roadmap is written by destiny. The thing is, since I'm a very smart boy when it comes to sponsors, I kinda have $10,000.
Let's find out which region of the world I'm coming to. What's it gonna be? Asia, the Americas, Oceania, or Africa? Ooh. Is it Asia? Is it Africa? Oceania? Oceania! Oh my god! I've never been in this region of the world. But now, let's proceed to the more interesting part. The selection of the country where I'll travel to. I am excluding countries where I cannot obtain visas on arrival, or the processing time for the online visa is basically close to eternity. This way, I'm missing out on Australia and Nauru. So, where in the fascinating region of Oceania will it be? The rational part of me is asking for New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, which are quite big, but the adventurous, emotional part is asking for the rest of the countries, which most of them I cannot pronounce. This is definitely gonna be a super long trip. At least 3 connection flights. Marshall Islands! Look, it's like in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. This is probably the furthermost place I could have ended up in. Well, I definitely don't want to go to the airport and then back home. I want a real adventure. I want to experience Marshall Islands, which means I have to go to a completely random place there. And this place will be determined by someone who's always right and whose wisdom never disappoints.
And I find that these travelers, it's almost like we've gotten to the point, and this relates, I think, back to the extreme sports people as well, is that we have gotten to the point where the common, the normal, is not good enough for us. There are many reasons for that. One reason is everywhere you go is starting to look alike. Not everywhere, but enough that when you go to this place, you're starting to say, oh, they have them all here like they had in Warsaw. Or you're going to a place going like, oh, they've got 2 McDonald's over here. You know, you start to get these repetition of things that are all over the world.
Hi! It's been a little while. So, 4 months to be exact? Yeah, it's been. So Vilk has gained a few pounds. He now weighs 100 pounds. I've gained a few gray hairs. And I'm in the United States and I have so much to catch you up on. Everything that's happened in the last 4 months and all the things that have changed and everything that's about to happen. Yes, good boy!
You might remember that a year and a half ago, I wanted to drive the Pan American Highway north to south. That was my big dream.
Let me introduce you to Expedition Wild. I will spend the next 2 years of my life driving down the longest motorable road in the entire world, the Pan American Highway.
So I drove all the way to northern Alaska, where the Pan Am begins.
And now every step that I take is gonna be another step south!
And then I drove all the way down to the southern tip of Baja in Mexico.
Yep, this definitely feels like a slice of paradise.
And there, I paused. After 5 years of full-time travel and filmmaking, I just needed a break. So I took some time off, rekindled my love for running, and worked on some side projects, like my other channel, Unplugged.
So I kind of decided to try going barefoot for a while and see how that would feel.
From there, my plan was to continue south to South America, but along the way, something changed. I slowly realized that this dream I had been dreaming of was no longer something I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
So these people have opted out to try to find another way to live. Interestingly enough, Ava Zubek, recently, it's like she was trying to do this crazy thing. She landed in Mexico. I don't know why she landed in Mexico, frankly, as opposed to landing in Alaska. And decided she was going to go all the way to Point Barrow in Alaska, or no, Dead Horse Point in Alaska on the highway there, and go and drive all the way down to Chile. Well, she started in Mexico, went through America, had her whole vehicle retooled to be a better place to live in, drove all the way through Canada, and I kept thinking, oh, good, she'll get to go to Alaska and see something. She didn't. I mean, she did, but she didn't. She stayed on the Alaskan highway and then just stayed there, didn't go to any of the cities that I could see, any of the small towns, and just went straight up the highway. And then, because the weather was getting cold, went straight down. I kept writing, go to Haines, Alaska, go to Haines, Alaska. No, didn't happen. And then again, there's another problem. So this person has hundreds of thousands of followers who are all saying things about, you should do this, you should do that. They can't listen to them. It's a very strange way. The one thing they are doing is making good money by doing this, and I can't fault them for that. But we've pushed ourselves. You know what it is although they can have incredible experiences, and Peter, the three names, he always says it like that, has had some funny, crazy experiences, particularly in South America and Africa. But the truth is, there is this constant desire for quantity and novelty. There's one guy, his name is Drew, I think it's Binsky, and he talks about having been to every country on earth. There is this desire to do as much as possible. And that is a problem, because it means you don't get to know any one thing. And I think that is the point of traveling, is to know something well, know a place well. Well, I hope you watched the whole series. Thanks for coming along, and let me know what you think about what makes travel good. What have been your best travel experiences? Why don't you write some of those down below for me, for all of us? And we've got a lot more coming up on this channel. I'm putting a bit more effort into it to see if I can get it to grow. Subscribe, share, hit like, do all that wonderful stuff. But you know what? So far, I've been doing this channel since kind of weekly. I started in 2019. Essentially, I've been doing this channel for 5 years, and not one person has ever contributed. If you want to be that first person, feel free. There's a PayPal link below. Be the first person. This is Byrne in Tbilisi saying Nakwamdis, which is goodbye in Georgian, and Droebit, which means simply temporarily, but what it means is we'll just be gone from each other a little while, and we will see each other soon.
相依，秘密混进，经